today. Woke up, did all my normal stuff, go to the bathroom, take a shower. I think it's kind of like a holdover of when I was in college. I would wait as long as possible to weigh so that it would be a better number. The scale was up, but I didn't think too much about it because I mostly was frustrated with myself this week because of how the week went. I was doing awesome Monday, Tuesday, had salad, had exactly what I like to eat, my little protocol that I know I'm going to lose weight on. I was feeling great. My body was feeling so good. And then what I believe is weight defense kicked in. My body was like, oh, I see what we're doing here. We're not losing weight. Nope, you're going to have some cravings. You're going to get lazy about making salad, blah, blah, blah. That's my common pattern is incorporated salads again because I just love how they make me feel when I eat them. They taste awesome. I had a little bit of feta goat cheese. I used a little bit of olive oil, some salt. It's so delicious. I just love it. And I had like the best salad of my life on, I think it was Monday. And then Tuesday comes around or Wednesday, I don't know, and I'm just, my brain goes, I don't want to make salad. I don't want salad. That's my weight defense kicking in. That's what happens to me. So I think also then what happened was I have a project that I want to work on for my Set Point Restore people. So I started putting my head down and working on that project. I got 3 days in at the gym this week. Usually I try to do 4, but 3's okay. On Wednesday is my day off from the gym anyway. So I was like, I'm just going to put my head down and start working. I did. I worked like crazy for hours in a row, and then I had to get my girls. But I worked so much that I worked through the time where I would go and do my salad, right? So then, but this week, my brain goes, no, we don't want salad. We want to work instead, which I believe is the language my brain speaks in weight defense, right? That's like my brain's weight defense language, which is, oh, we got to get this project done. So we're busy. So we don't have time to make a salad. And you don't really want a salad anyway. And that's just too much hassle, blah, blah, blah. And then you go, okay, well, I'll just have something quick. But I ended up having cheese and crackers that day, which I believe is Wednesday. I don't remember exactly how it happened, but I had cheese and crackers. And then I had, I don't know if that was the day where I had like real ice cream too. Because I think it was because I was going to have banana ice cream. And I was like, oh, that's going to be fine. Cheese and crackers is fine. I'll have enough. I just won't get full. And then I'll have banana ice cream. But then my husband had bought, it's very unfortunate, he bought 2 pints of Breyers. And I wanted him to buy 1. And he, of course, brought 2. And then I think my brain got a little excited about that. But it wasn't really exciting because I really do like banana ice cream. But it was one of those things where it's like, I don't even want this, but I'm having it anyway. And that's weight defense. That's the brain speaking in your weight defense language of like, oh, we know ice cream is, that's one of the things you'll respond to. So we're gonna do that one. So it was, I don't feel like making a salad. I want to get this project done. That's the surefire pattern that my brain knows to keep this human safe of not losing too much weight, because it will err on the side of keeping weight on after so many years, because it actually knows you're quite a powerful individual and you have lost weight many times forcefully. And so it has to get more forceful to get you to not lose weight anymore. And it would rather have extra stores than for you to be at this very low place, because if you get in your head that all of a sudden you want to be super forceful again when you're down at a super low weight, we're not doing that, right? So it keeps defending up and up and up. If we do it slowly but surely, like tortoise and the hare way, like more tortoise, just this kind of a thing, that the body will relax. But it's about giving regular signals. And so what I'll say is, I think where I screwed up this week was I started to get too excited about how I felt, too excited about the fact that my bloating was down, my stomach felt thinner comparatively. So one day I had a salad and then I didn't have my protein after that, because usually it would be, for me and my protocol, is my coffee stuff in the morning, some protein shake just to sort of get me through, maybe a yogurt, maybe a little RX bar. And then around 2 is when I have my big salad, and then I have a big protein meal, some type of meat, and then I'll have banana ice cream. And that's like it's a protocol that I love. I love how it tastes. It feels really great. But I think I got a little, my brain went into, ooh, let's have less than that land. And so I think what I'm learning is, while I also don't want to listen to the weight defense voice of, oh, we don't want salad, and let's work really hard on this project. But like that is a weight defense voice, like a language my brain uses. I also have prior dieting brain, which is, oh, let's eat less and then let's lose weight faster, right? So that was where it actually started to break down. And I'll say I was aware of it when it was happening. And I was like, I wonder if this is me actually just responding to hunger and being like, I don't want any more, because I didn't want any more salad. And I was like, why would I eat protein right now if I don't want it? What I'm learning is the safety signal is you just do it anyway. You just keep giving your brain, your nervous system, your brain safety. The alarm that happens in that nervous system, which is in the brain, the alarm that happens is, oh no, she's restricting again. Whew. So I feel like that's what happened this week. And this is the scientist in me testing things out and seeing how it is. And what if I were to, because I went from let's give safety signals to let's listen to hunger and satiety. And I felt very satiated that day, so I didn't have any other food afterwards. But then the next day is when weight defense kicked in and I started going, I don't want a salad, even though I loved the salad I had the day before, right? I'm trying to think back at where did it go off the rails? And I think it actually just did go off the rails when I decided not to eat the protein part of my meal. When we're talking about safety signals and letting the body actually feel safe so that weight defense doesn't kick in, it's about you just give it the safety signals anyway. Even if you don't feel super hungry, like you're going to be hungry later, and so you don't want to be too hungry. And I'm remembering back right now as I say this, that is the reason that I have this particular protocol. The way that this works for me, the timing works for weight loss, because if I eat more than I technically need at that moment, around 3 p.m., I don't need to eat at dinner time. And dinner time is the hard part for me. That's my kryptonite time, because I have to cook for the girls and make them foods that are high calorie. And if I'm hungry while I'm doing that, game over. So what I'm formulating here is that, oh, it broke down at the moment where I was like, yeah, let's not have the protein today. So I think what I'm going to test this week is buckling down on just making the salads anyway, have the protein afterwards, eat the banana ice cream on purpose so we have that completion cue, which I believe is important for me to have some sweetness afterwards, because that's how my brain works. But it's not chocolate. I did have, oh no, it wasn't ice cream that day. It was a chocolate bar. The one thing that was good was that I did stop eating at 3. So it was enough food for me to be like totally satisfied. And the one thing that did happen over this whole week was, except for last night, was I stopped eating around 3. And so I feel like that did help. So let me tell you what my weight was. It was up to 177 today. Pound and a half or something. Here's the things that went through my mind. So ahead of time, it was, we don't linger on the number. No linger. That's a rule. We're a scientist. This is data. This isn't emotional. So I talk myself through these things before I get on the scale. I go, where do I think it is? I'm like, it's probably up. The other thing is that I went out to eat with my daughter last night, just one of my daughters, and it was such a special moment. We went out to Sushi, and she loves like egg rolls and stuff like that. And so it's so beautiful to just get to sit with her and have this beautiful moment. I'm doing my video. What do you need?
Where is Daddy?
He's outside in the backyard.
What?
Put your shoes on. You can go out there. I love you. Close the door. So we had this absolutely gorgeous moment. There's something to be said for that moment I had with my daughter is way better, 1,000 times better than how thin feels. They're not comparable. That moment was so special. Now, did I have to eat with her? Technically, no. It was nice to break bread with her or whatever and have that real moment. I don't think she would have cared if I hadn't been eating at that moment. My kids are getting used to mom being the kind of person who doesn't really eat at night. She's already eaten at 2 and 3, so I'll make dinner for them and I will sit down with them and we'll have our time together and it will still be beautiful and fun, but I'm not actually putting the food in my mouth too. And so yesterday, I believe when we went out to eat, like it could have been one of those things where I had had a really great day of eating and I wasn't hungry and then I didn't eat with her. So that would be okay too. And I think what I want to get to is being that person that like, I just do the things that I need for my body and I still partake in the moments with you, but I don't have to partake in the actual food. That's what I'm working through. That moment would have been just as lovely, I think, if I wasn't eating at that moment. I'm not sure, because I wouldn't have had the same chemicals going on in my brain that I did while I was eating. So maybe it would have been like down a notch, but for my daughter's memories, I think then she remembers a mom who ate with her, or she remembers a mom who never ate with her, but was there. I don't know. Like that's a tough question to know which one is whatever. But I do think it's important also to model the mom who takes care of herself, not in a restrictive kind of a way, but in a, I'm not hungry, so I'm not going to eat, but I want to be with you. A mom who found her particular rhythm that worked for her, which was not eating with the kids at night and having eaten already at 2 and having eaten such a quantity that caused her to be a bit overfull at that moment in service to the not overeating at night. Because the reason that the scale was up is not because I gained 1.5 pounds in a week, which I don't think happened. Pretty sure it didn't happen, because 1.5 pounds would mean I had taken in an additional like 5,500 calories in the week, and I don't believe that happened. I believe it was having had soy sauce and salty food at 8:30 last night and then weighing now. So I believe most of that is sodium weight, like sodium and water retention, because when your body takes in more sodium, it also pulls in more water. It's why you get thirsty after you drink, or if you have something salty, right? It takes in more water to be able to balance that sodium. It's a brilliant mechanism, but it makes the scale look different the next morning. But that's just science. That's just like data. It's fact. It's not like you didn't actually gain 1.5 pounds in a week or half a week. And the reason that I believe this to be true is because every time I ate that stuff, I finished eating around 3. There was 2 nights where I didn't though, so could be maybe up 1 pound or something, or maybe half a pound, and it was extra food. Like I did have a bunch of the ice cream at one point. So seeing this week as kind of a frustrating wash, because I'm probably up 1 pound or something, and now I have to do some work to work on that pound. And these pounds come off not very easily nowadays, right? It's not like back in the day, I would just starve myself for a day and then I'd lose 3 or 4 pounds and then I could stay there and keep going. Like that's just not how it works anymore with my metabolism and the medications I'm on and all that kind of stuff. Like each 1/4 pound is hard won, right? Like it takes time, it takes rhythm. So what I'm learning from today is that rhythm is the thing I need to stick to. That is the thing I need to just keep working on. And when I'm working on a big project, it's not we go do salad at 2. That's just what we do. Okay, so we'll see how it goes. That's it for today. Let me know down in the comments what you think about this. I think what I'm going to do is have these thought downloads with you, and then I'm going to talk about some science after this, so stay tuned for that. Let me know down in the comments your thoughts.
You're listening to the Setpoint Science Podcast, the science behind how your body and brain regulate weight for good. I'm your host, Sherry Alberts, and today we're talking about why listening to your hunger and fullness aren't always the best tools. Now, it's easy to finish a week like this and just feel frustrated and start overeating. But when we look at the science behind weight defense and metabolic safety, we realize that my brain wasn't actually failing. It was actually following a really specific survival script. So let's dive into the upstream mechanics of why my brain suddenly swapped my salad for work. Okay, so science-wise, we've got 3 very interesting things going on that we can see from this week. First of all, and I think it's probably the most important part, we have a clear example of weight defense. Now, if you remember back, weight defense is the concept that the brain has a way of getting us to eat when it thinks we're in danger. It's my sort of stickier term, weight defense, for the concept of homeostasis. Probably heard of that the nervous system will, above all else, try to maintain status quo when it feels threatened. So for instance, when I technically restricted that day after having the salad and then not having my usual protein, and I wasn't honestly sure if I was doing a good thing by skipping more food after that, or if that was a sneaky diet brain way of trying to lose more weight, When I actually did that, that's what set in the weight defense modes. If the next day is any indication, then it was clearly a little sneaky diet brain moment, because my brain ended up not feeling very safe. It felt like I was restricting a bit, and then it enacted the weight defense the next day. In this case, weight defense looked like a few things. Number 1, prioritizing my work project to make my thinking simpler, but also more urgent, right? So I go to do my work project, I work until I'm too hungry to ignore it, and then I tell myself that I just need to keep working, and then I get too hungry. So now I'm too hungry to be able to create my regular salad. My brain has learned my specific weight defense language. That is that I enjoy working on new projects. And if I take big chunks out of these projects, I'm likely to think that doing that is more important than my salad eating. So I get overly hungry. That makes me eat more, which creates the homeostasis from the panic I'd created the day before by getting a little sneaky. Then my brain urged me to eat very simply, very high, fast calorie things like cheese and crackers, full dairy ice cream, instead of the higher effort salad and the banana and ice cream. It very convincingly told me that I don't want to have salad. I don't feel like salad right now, and I need to prioritize other things like work instead of salad so that I could just have some real high calorie stuff and have it be over with. And boy, did I listen. My brain was successful at keeping my weight where it was. Remember from when we talked about weight defense or homeostasis that our hypothalamus in the brain, it acts like a thermostat for our weight. When it senses the threat or a deficit coming or restriction, like my really great Monday and Tuesday, combined with a little bit of extra restriction on the next day, it's going to then trigger that homeostasis stuff. And the more we've done this restriction over the years, the better our brain gets at seeing the signals that this is coming up. So it gets better at kicking in that weight defense. So for instance, it's not that I was just lazy about making a salad that day. Maybe you've thought that about yourself, like, why can't I do this? Why am I so lazy? But it was actually that my brain lowered the motivation for that type of like effortful prep while increasing the idea of reward for the high calorie foods. So through these thoughts, these cravings, a feeling of interest in work until resisting hunger was too urgent, it was like a tactical strike by my nervous system to thwart the threat. So that's the first thing. Another huge thing that I realized this week is the clear difference between satiety and metabolic safety. Okay, now normally we think of these as the same thing, right? Like, so I'm full, so my body must be happy. But they actually are two different languages in the brain. Satiety is the short-term feeling of I've had enough, I'm good. That's what I felt on Wednesday when I skipped my protein after my salad. I felt full, like I didn't need any more. In fact, in this moment, I actually wrestled with it because I wasn't sure if listening to that was being good or it was more restricting. So when I say metabolic safety, I'm referring to the long-term data our brain is collecting about whether or not there's a famine going on. And this is going to look different for different people. Folks without histories of extreme restriction patterns, they're not going to have as much sensitive responses to small adjustments like I did from salad day. But for me, who's just beginning to create safety and rhythm in my body as far as food goes, my brain will slip towards restriction faster, and then my brain will quicker see that as a threat. So I, for instance, am better off at this time to just give my body regular safety signals as often as I can manage it. By skipping the protein that day, I thought I wasn't hungry. I accidentally sent a restriction alert to my nervous system because protein is more than just, muscle builder. Consistent protein intake acts as a chemical signal to the brain, specifically involving our hunger hormones like leptin and ghrelin, which are the I'm hungry, I'm full hormones. And they tell the brain that, hey, the hunt was successful. We got what we needed, we're set. When I skipped that satiety signal of the protein, my stomach might have been full of lettuce, but my brain's famine detector or restriction detector started going off. It didn't care that I felt satiated in that moment. It only cared that the high quality fuel it was looking for wasn't there. So that's why the crash happened 24 hours later. I wasn't just fighting a craving, I was fighting hormonal overcorrection. My brain was trying to make up for the missing safety signal that I usually give it by demanding the most calorie-dense things it could find the next day. Regular protein is like the anchor that keeps my boat from drifting into cravings land. And I've done enough work over this the last year and a half to see when I do the protein thing, I get the calm. When I don't do the protein thing, I lose the calm. So finally, I had to talk more about the sushi dinner with my daughter because it is the perfect example of why our safety rhythm is about more than just calories or intake. So from a diet brain perspective, eating sushi and soy sauce at 8:30 p.m. would be like a failure because the scale goes up the next day. But from an upstream perspective, that moment was actually metabolically protective. When we're in a rigorous weight loss phase, you know, that push kind of stuff, our cortisol, the stress hormone, tends to run high. High cortisol makes the body want to hang on to every single ounce of energy that it has. But that beautiful connected moment with my daughter, that spikes oxytocin and dopamine in the brain. Those connection chemicals act like a buffer against stress. They tell the nervous system, hey, we're safe, we're connected, life is good. Lowering that stress response is actually one of the best things we can do for our weight loss journey, especially long term. And as for the 3-pound jump on the scale, well, that's just science, right? Sodium induced water retention. When you have soy sauce or salty food, your body pulls in extra water to balance out the sodium levels. It's brilliant. It's a brilliant survival mechanism to keep your chemistry stable, but it has nothing to do with gaining fat. So to gain 1.5 pounds of actual fat in one night, I would have had to eat like 5,000 extra calories above my maintenance. And I certainly didn't do that. I just had a memory making dinner that caused my body to hold on to some extra water for 24 hours. Understanding this keeps us from falling into that frustration trap. When we know it's just water and chemistry, we can stay calm, get back into our rhythm, and let the science work for us instead of overeating for days later because we're frustrated. And then the last thing I want to say, just a recap here. So what will I do differently going forward? Well, while I'm recording this, I'm actually in the next week. So what I did was I reminded myself that I actually really love all the benefits of salad, even if it costs a little bit of extra effort. I love the benefits of salad. I also reminded myself not to be too tunnel vision about work, that it's just as important for me to be having the brain space to be able to do salad and protein, and that I wanted to make sure I gave myself that specific protein anchor every day. And then of course is just the reminder of that beautiful moment that I want to actually build in those types of moments on purpose instead of trying to avoid those moments or worry about those moments of beautiful fun and connection because it includes food that maybe we don't need at that moment. I want to actually build that stuff in to my plan about making sure that I have these connection moments. Sometimes they can include food and sometimes they don't have to, but making sure that I don't shy away from the social community aspect of life because it's just as important as all the other stuff. Okay, thank you for listening to the Set Point Science podcast. I was so glad you were here today. Let me know down in the comments below. Did you relate to any of this stuff? Has anything like this come up for you recently? What did you get from this episode? Let me know in the comments and we'll chat about it. I'd also love if you would consider sharing this podcast with someone you know. Take a minute to share it or take a minute to do a little review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you review your podcast. That's going to be helpful to show them that you like this and that other people will get to see it too. Why is this important? Because I know there are millions of other women just like us who are suffering through this weight loss, overeating, binge eating thing. And this is the stuff that can help us long term. So please share it so she can find us over here. I have a helpful guide called the Gentle Weight Loss PDF, and you can go ahead and download that if you want to dive into some more specifics of these techniques. Okay, so you can get that at setpointscience.com/podcast guide. Until next time, keep giving your body those safety signals and remember that we are playing the long game.